Dave Lavender from Herald Dispatch, and I'll give you a little tour of kind of a little bit of the history that's right here on the walls of the HD. We have like a bunch of the great front pages throughout the history of the HD. So these are like the more modern ones. And then you can get an idea of the fact that we've been here through every major crisis and every major thing that Huntington has went through, as well as America. So things like the Point Pleasant Bridge collapsing, probably one of our greatest tragedies in the tri-state, and of course, man walking on the moon, and shuttle exploding, floods, Chuck Yeager, Reagan being shot. It's kind of all here. A lot of great history here at the HD. Proud to be a part of it. I've been in the journalism field since about 1990. So, several decades, and got into it in college and really just needed a part-time job, and so became a sports writer. Ended up writing 5 nights a week for the Portsmouth Daily Times while I was going to Shawnee State my first 2 years of college. That led me to really want to go and study journalism. So, I studied journalism at UK, and I did 5 internships in college. And so then, since that time, I've been working as a professional journalist. So I was even working as a professional journalist in college. All of my internships were paid. And so we had 4 of us in college at the same time. So it was kind of paramount that I made money. So I've been a working journalist for a long time, and I've been with the Herald Dispatch for 15 years. Somewhat, people talk about, newspapers being a dying breed. They've really, and Mark Twain said, our death has been greatly exaggerated, and it's certainly true. I mean, newspapers are really at a vibrant and exciting time for telling stories, and if I could go back again, I would always choose this field because I've got to meet more people. If you talk to anybody in Huntington, there's few people who know as many people as I do as far as from different walks of life. And so, for me, that's just been a real treasure because I don't really care about money and things, but I do care about knowing a lot of different people. And I think that's the rich tapestry of a well-lived life. Zen in the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance said that most people don't have the guts to star in their own movie, and I've got to meet a lot of people who do, a lot of people who are just unbelievable, who live amazing lives. I would never get to have known them and interviewed so many cool people if it was not for journalism. So that's been just, it's been incredible, and aside from even famous people, it's just been neat to have, as my friend Carl Hirsch said, a front row seat to the debacle. So, the biggest events in Huntington's history, the worst fire that ever happened in Huntington, I covered it by myself. It's up on my, covering the Emmons fire. Saw a lady that was almost 400 pounds get carried down about a 3-story ladder by a firefighter. I interviewed her. All she had was smoke inhalation. She had just had her life saved by a firefighter. And it was that was an amazing moment. I mean, something out of a movie. The newspaper business is really cool. It also is terrible pay. One of the highest divorce rates, of any industry. One of the highest stress rates of any industry. And, so it's a hard sell for a lot of people, and a lot of people can't hack it. It's not for the weak, I would say that. It's a tough business, and there's crazy hours, and I think we talked earlier about how my day can be planned, but there's a lot of days I end up working a 12, 14, 16-hour day, and the newspaper never sleeps, so I work Christmas. I've worked Christmas the last few years. And I worked Easter, and I've worked Mother's Day, and so it's a tough sell for a lot of folks. I always call journalism the heroine of writing. It's that daily fix. That's I like nothing else. I mean, it's a great business if you're just a nosy person who is flexible. So I work for the features department. And so a typical day, so we do a lot of planning, and our mantra is plan for a good story, and if a better one comes along, then we do that as well. So we're not rigid in that we can't shift and change on a daily basis. So the kind of wild thing now that's happened with journalism is that, you know, we're constantly putting up information on the web. And so like a typical day of mine, I'll get in here and I'll usually know if I have like, say 2 or 3 interviews to do. And, you know, I'm blocking out time to do these interviews. But then I have a lot of time in my day for just constantly keeping fresh information out on our website. And so all of that's linked up, so I can put out something on Instagram, you know, maybe tease a story that I'm going to be doing. And so that goes up on Instagram, you know, Twitter, Facebook, you know, our website. So there's a lot of, these days, there's a lot of just sort of constantly putting out a fresh flow, you know, also tweeting other people in town, like the Parthenon or MUL. So a lot of good cross-pollination with the media sources in town, kind of supporting everybody, you know, and making sure people know about local events and fundraisers and different things like that. That might be cool for the community to know about. I'll tell you, like, you know, my main thing for the paper is features, mm-hmm. And so entertainment. And, you know, but the interesting thing is when we moved back from Nashville, and so we've been here like 15 years, the sports department wasn't really covering the outdoors. So anyway, I've kind of helped pick up the slack for outdoors, and naturally outdoors and travel. I love to travel. My wife loves to travel. She like backpacked through Europe as a college kid. I went to Europe as a college kid and love traveling, love day trips. And so we've done both. So I've done a lot of outdoors here, and that's just one great way for people to go out and check out a region. We're just West Virginia, Kentucky, and Ohio. The outdoors is a, you know, multi-billion-dollar industry, and it's the best stuff we have is in the outdoors. So the Dave Tribun's definitely been the most fun, and we are my favorite. And we put out one book that sold out 7 years ago, and we have a new book coming out that just probably here in May sometime. So it's Dave Trippin, A Day Tripper's Guide to the Appalachian Galaxy of Ohio, Kentucky, and West Virginia. And the new book is Mo Dave Trippin. And so like more trips, Ohio, Kentucky, West Virginia, and beyond. So we got a couple trips to Canada, which is actually really close, you know, and Lake Erie's a really easy trip to do. And then we got some like trips down to Florida where, you know, you can hop on a plane at Tri-State Airport and be down, you know, in the Everglades or be in the Keys in like 5 hours, which is pretty amazing. Yeah, covering the Emmons Fire where so many people died, and you know, me at the time coming to it from where I had been writing about, you know, comic books and music and caving, and you know, all of a sudden, you know, and it was the same night as the Tough Man contest, and so to have to, you know, put on my really serious hat and understand the weight of that many people dying, the worst fire in the city's history, and it was on a Sunday, so I was the only reporter in here, and I stayed up all night, and you know, the BBC was calling, and the, you know, NPR's calling, and CNN's calling, and all these people are calling us trying to get more information because nobody's really reporting the story yet but me. The thing about journalism, we've kind of covered the bad, and certainly this, I still think about this, you know. And I can still be moved to tears just thinking about the 9 people that died in that fire. And then, but then it's the great things too that you get to cover. You know, when Warner Brothers came to town, and so we have, you know, a movie, amazing major league movie, major motion picture made right here in Huntington. That's incredible. And then things like the Sesquicentennial, so we get to mark history as it's being made. And so it's always been rushed, and that's not changed. Now the quickening of the pace has definitely happened to where you're getting more information out. And so the business has changed in that sense where you're kind of constantly updating for the web, and you know, you're constantly trying to connect with people and to connect with audiences. You know, so the business has changed that way. And I think the way it'll change in the future is, you know, it's going to continue to do that, but we understand that. Don't think that newspapers will ever go away because, you know, we're some of the last great storytellers left. You know, like last Thanksgiving was our best Thanksgiving on record. So for making money, so we're not going anywhere anytime soon. We kind of always say that, you know, interviewing somebody and talking to somebody is like giving them air, you know, and so, you know, I feel like that it's really affected the way I look at people because I have so many times and we all do this, judge a book by its cover. And, you know, I've just gotten proved wrong again and again and again and again. And just some of the kindest, most amazing people I ever met, you know, were people who didn't look like they had a dollar, and they were very eloquent and beautiful people. And so it super has affected the way I look at people. I'd say I look at people less judgmental than almost, you know, than most people I know. And I had a editor early on in my career say, you know, if you're not going to be anything else, at least be useful. And so I've always tried to, one, have a lot of useful information in the paper and just give people a lot of information about things they can go do. And so I know, like with our weekend section, we have 20 pages of things you can go do this weekend. You know, and I try to have a lot of free stuff and family stuff and stuff, ways to go see shows. And I try to cover a lot of stuff that's not in the mainstream media. So whether that's like graffiti art or, you know, skateboarders or whatever, I mean, there's a lot of that kind of stuff, you know, that I've covered and that I know has made an impact. And I mean, the newspaper is known as the Daily Miracle, and, you know, it, in some ways this job gets easier, but in some ways it gets harder to, you know, and I think that, you know, for me right now, every day is an adventure, and I love doing it. So the day I come in here and I don't love it, and I'm not just totally jacked up to go interview some cool people and go see a show and see some punks and some, you know, funk band or like a great artist, you know, performance art, then I'm checking out, and, you know, I'll do whatever, I don't know. But for right now, you know, I love it, so.